Welcome back to the Wild Wild West, to Bandit time. I am your host, The Bandit. I am in the middle, or just starting off, in a DraftKings NFL Best Ball 300K play action 20 entry max tournament. I am now on the clock at the turn with 14 seconds left to pick. In the previous drafts, I have taken guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, am I going to take him again? No, I'm going to take Garrett Wilson first. Okay. So I took Garrett Wilson at the 12, and then I'm right back on the clock at the 13 with 20 seconds left. So what I'm going to do actually is not take Nick Chubb, who correlates with week 17, because I think a lot of teams will do that. And in my previous video, my previous podcast, I talked about why I'm not that high on Nick Chubb. So I'm going to take Devontae Adams. And hopefully this works. All right. DraftKings, a little bit glitchy on the old desktop. I'm usually drafting on the phone. This is a little bit touch and go here, but all right. I wanted to hop into one of these, do another recording, another best ball draft, because I think it's important during this peak redraft season that I can talk about a bunch of guys in a format best ball that allows me to, be on the clock 30 seconds at a time and rifling through players. Anyways, DraftKings. So DraftKings is a little bit different than Underdog. It's a PPR scoring, not half PPR. And crucially, there are bonuses. So for a 300 plus yard passing game, I think you get 3 bonus points. You get +3, an additional 3 points for 300 passing yards. And then for a 100 rushing or 100 receiving yard game, you also get +3 bonus points. So the guys I got, the Aaron Rodgers past and present, with Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. Those are 2 guys I think that could have 100-yard games, and, they might be hyper targeted by their teams. Jimmy Garoppolo, a little bit different quarterback, but if it's Josh McDaniels calling the plays again, or, if it's anything similar to last season, then Devontae Adams should be pretty good in this PPR format with the bonuses. But okay, so the reason I like these DraftKings contests, and I somewhat prefer these to Underdog just in general, but Underdog is a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer looking. Great, cool. I like the aesthetics, but trying to win some money here. So the aesthetics for DraftKings are a little bit more alpha, I guess, a little bit more broy, whatever, extreme, militant. What am I saying? Who gives a shit? Okay. Basically, what I am actually trying to say is that these tournaments, these play action tournaments with a 20 entry max, it's only a $3 entry. So you can commit $60 and draft 20 teams either on this fast clock, like I'm doing now with 30-second picks running through it, or on an 8-hour slow draft clock, which I believe is always at 8 hours. I don't think it sort of extends to 11 hours or so, 12 hours, or I think it's 12 hours, 11 hours with Underdog once it gets to a certain time of night on the East Coast, I believe, maybe around 8 p.m. or so. That extends. On DraftKings, I'm pretty sure it just is an 8-hour clock throughout slow draft. But I feel a lot better in these $3 20 entry max type of best ball tournaments because I can fill that, and it's going to cost me $60. When you're talking about Best Ball Mania 4 over on Underdog, the big contest where the winner gets $3 million, but there's hundreds of thousands of people playing or hundreds of thousands of teams drafted. There's actually probably not hundreds of thousands of people playing because the people who are really going in on these best ball drafts, they come from the DFS world, and in that world, you can max entry at 150 entries, and that's how Best Ball Mania works. That's how a lot of the Underdog tournaments works. That's how a lot of these larger field tournament works on DraftKings, wherever. You can enter up to 150 teams on a lot of them. So you want to be aware of your contest, how many entries are allowed, Because if you're just going to enter 3 or 4 teams, Best Ball Mania at 25 a pop, that's $75 when somebody might be max entering that at 150 teams times 25. So they're spending, almost $4,000 to compete. So your $75 is going up against $3,750. And that's somebody who might be really grinding all the data, really taking the joy out of it, really spreadsheeting it up, narrowing it down, getting their exposures right. So they have 8% to 9% to 10%, the optimal amount of the guys across their best ball portfolio for each contest. Really just playing the numbers game, treating it as a way to kind of diversify and then make some money. Which more power to them. Maybe if I was winning these daily contests and stuff, and was proficient with Excel and all that, I'd be doing it too. Seems all right, but I think I like to play this for fun. I like fantasy football a lot. It's a lot of fun. I am back on the clock. All right. So, DraftKings also with Underdog, the ADP is a bit different as you will see here, but guys are a little bit lower, and then there's a bright red Q next to a lot of guys' names. So, I am back on the clock. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take Ramondre Stevenson first. He's got a week 11 bye. I'm not going to worry about buys too much right now, but I'm back on the clock right away. And I got a couple options here. It is start 3 wide receivers as well on DraftKings. And I'm going to start thinking about, that week 17 tournament correlation that I talked about previously. And I could do that with Amari Cooper here going against Garrett Wilson. But I'm going to take Travis Etienne Jr., who I also took in a previous draft. But, I haven't taken Ramondre yet. I don't believe. I'm just double checking my notes here. Okay, so I haven't taken Ramondre yet. I hadn't taken Garrett Wilson yet. I hadn't taken Devontae yet. So I'm trying to get a little bit different. So all of you who are out there preparing for your redraft team can hear sort of what I'm thinking about and what I've been thinking about all offseason and about these guys. So with Ramondre, the big story right now is that Ezekiel Elliott is in town and he might steal some goal line touches. Apparently, Bill O'Brien, the new offensive coordinator, returning back to Belichick, returning back to the Patriots, he believes that Ezekiel Elliott can still be a 3-down back. And if you have seen Ezekiel Elliott in a Patriots uniform, he's really filling that thing out. I'm not sure about that. But he might get some goal line touches, steal those away from Ramondre. The point of taking Ramondre here in the third round as my RB1 and Travis Etienne as my RB2 is that I think those offenses do really want to be balanced. And I do think that in Ramondre's case, Mac Jones is going to look to target him in the passing game. So I think Ramondre has a pretty stable floor as far as a week-to-week basis. And sure, if Zeke's going to steal some touches down in the goal line when everything's all jumbled up down there, that's okay, because I think Ramondre over the course of the season stays healthy. If he can stay healthy, he'll be a very good pick with a solid weekly floor and, that 20-point upside that we're looking for from our running back position on any given week. I also think that he's a type of player that could go for 100 rushing yards. I mean, I don't have it pulled up right now, but I believe he has done that in the past. Let me just check before I start talking out of the side of my mouth. I'm not going to check right now. We can worry about that later. I just think he's a good pick in fantasy football this year, basically in any format. When you can get a strong RB1 type, that the team is going to want to feature. Bill Belichick has come out and said he loves this player, which he never really says about his own guys in the past. I think they want to run the offense through Ramondre. I think he will be a big part of it. And the same goes for Travis Etienne, who, of course, now the Jaguars have Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk, and they signed Evan Ingram, re-signed him. They have Zay Jones, who was a red zone kind of weapon last year, and he played pretty well. He figures to be the number 2 receiver there, with Christian Kirk working out of the slot, and then Calvin Ridley kind of moving around the formation, but mostly playing the X, the number 1 wide receiver. And then Travis Etienne, he's kind of getting a little bit of a discount. The reason why he's fallen here to the, 3-4 turn, and he probably would have kept falling if I wasn't there to snap him up. But the reason he's falling is a lot of Tank Bigsby hype this offseason, and basically people thinking that maybe maybe Travis Etienne isn't the best bet to get those touches in the green zone. I saw Bill Barnwell of ESPN. He did a thread over on X the other day where he was saying, not the other day, yesterday, last night, sometime. Basically, he went over Ramondre's, or geez, this is bad. I gotta stop messing up my guys here. But Etienne got at least about a dozen red zone goal line ish touches last year, and I think he scored on 4 of them. Again, off the top of the dome, I shouldn't be just saying random things. All right. I tend to match the pace of the draft, I think, when I'm doing this, where I just start talking, getting excited, thinking about all the different possibilities, but I will slow down, pump the brakes, and say Ramondre Stevenson, Patriots, they play the Bills in week 17. Jacksonville, they play the Panthers in week 17. The Jets play the Browns, and Vegas plays the Colts. So there are some options there that I want to talk about too. The Colts are a little bit dicey right now. I'm not sure if Jonathan Taylor is going to be able to get traded, his trade request granted. And if he does move on, that's really starting to make me worried about Anthony Richardson and his upside as a rookie quarterback without that superstar running back to sort of, take the attention of the defensive coordinator during the week and during the game plan. If they just have to prepare for Anthony Richardson and say, a secondary, even if it's like a Zach Moss, a Deion Jackson, and Evan Hall, or if they were able to trade anybody's not going to be really as good as Jonathan Taylor. So that could be pretty bad for Anthony Richardson. So at the top of the draft board right now are 2 quarterback options that I like a lot in this format. One is Justin Fields. The other is Justin Herbert. Both of those guys, I think, can reach their bonuses pretty easily any given week, with Justin Fields seemingly being able to break, 40-yard runs at will. And Justin Herbert, the basic, I'm on the, what? Am I on the, what's going on here? Okay, 17 seconds left. DraftKings, it's struggling. If you're watching this on YouTube, it is struggling bad. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Justin Herbert. I'm going to bet on the Chargers offense, keeping up their crazy pass rate with Kellen Moore there at the controls, calling up the plays, dialing it up. And I think that they're going to be pretty damn good this year. They play the Broncos in week 17, and I'm not seeing anybody really at the top of the queue here. I'm going to hope Quentin Johnston might make it back. He might have already gone. But before I, time out, I hope I just drafted Gabe Davis. Okay, I did. Gabe Davis, I took as my wide receiver 3, sort of your classic boom busty, better and best ball type of player, who does correlate with Ramondre Stevenson in that wintry week 17 game. But I do like him, especially here on DraftKings in a full point PPR, where maybe he's a little bit more of a discount. A guy like Chris Godwin, or I saw him go off the board a little bit earlier, a JSN who just had wrist surgery today. Those type of guys, the PPR type of guys, they're going to get a little bit pushed up in DraftKings or a PPR format. And a guy like Gabe Davis, who's a big play waiting to happen, but it might only get, 3 catches. He could turn those 3 catches into 100 yards and a touchdown. So pretty good there. I mean, you get that 3-point bonus. So it's a lot like having, 6 catches if you look at it like that, if he's able to hit that bonus. and he correlates. So as I just want to look a little bit ahead of the draft. I don't do this a lot, but while I'm on the turn here, I got a lot of time in between picks. So I know my next two picks will be coming at 84 and 85. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit to see who DraftKings has ranked around 84 and 85. And I do see Quentin Johnston at 89. So that would fit really nice with Justin Herbert. He does fit the sort of rookie best ball mold where, yes, he might get brought along slowly, but if he is a part of the offense, if he is getting, ramped up and he gets that opportunity earlier on in the season, gets a lot of targets, gets worked into the game plan, works his way up to getting a lot of the trust of Herbert and Kellen Moore and the plays, you know, that might favor him start getting called a lot more. That could be really good, especially against the Broncos in week 17 when they've got a great, number one shutdown type of corner in Pat Sertan. And depending on who's the X there or who's the number one wide receiver at that time for the Chargers, whether it be Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, or Quentin Johnston, they're going to want to mix up their looks that they're throwing at Pat Surtain and that defense with the Broncos. So the Broncos do profile to be a bit run heavier team. So maybe there's not as many plays in that game. But if the Chargers are able to sort of keep their pace and their passing, I'm not really worried about any of their offensive firepower there that you can take in these drafts. I'm not really worried about them not having enough opportunities in any given game. So I like having the leader, the captain of that team, Justin Herbert, as my captain quarterback. Uh, captain, of course, in the DFS world is when you play a showdown slate, which is just a single game. So, say you want to play the Monday night football game on DraftKings, you get a free entry, a free promo, or something like that. You want to play a showdown lineup in for that Monday night game when everybody's watching an island game, Bills versus Jets, the Cook Bowl, James versus Delvin. And the captain, you get 1.5 points basically. So a little bit of a bonus. So I like if you're looking at that game, if I'm thinking about that game right now, just since I'm drafting on DraftKings, that kind of popped into my mind. A guy like Khalil Shakir could be good because they've got good outside corners there, and I think they will trust Shakir to get some meaningful snaps out of the slot in that game. So that could be pretty nice, I would think. Pretty nice for Khalil Shakir. Maybe not in the captain, but work him in a lineup. But I shouldn't be giving DFS advice. I'm going to focus on this draft and what I have coming up. Now, I am a little bit annoyed here because I could make a decision. You know what? I could just do it because Trevor Lawrence is still on the board here, and I was considering him with my last pick. He's ranked 60th in the DraftKings player pool um, with an ADP of 60.5, and we're now at pick 80. So when I'm doing this on my phone, I tend to kind of bounce around and look at other teams, see what they're looking like. But given the sort of glitchy, buffery nature of this on the website in the browser here, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to mess up a pick. But as I see Deshaun Watson go off the board, Javonte Williams go off the board, Trevor Lawrence is back. So I'm going to take him because I've got Travis Etienne. And then I'm going to take Quentin Johnston as well. So that's not bad. This is there's some merit, I think, to the sort of superhero quarterback build, if that's what it's called, in the streets with all the blueprint guys out there. But Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, I think having both of those sort of superstar quarterbacks that I both think could be in the MVP discussion this year, and both could get that 300-yard passing bonus here on DraftKings and get 2 to 3 touchdowns a week passing. I think having those two guys through the first 14 weeks of this individual league here against 11 other players is going to give me a leg up. I know that I could have kept sort of filling out my roster with some high end players that could end up filling my flex. Right now, I'm kind of looking like I'm going to be pushing the tight end. I might do 3 or 4 late just because I went with the 2 quarterbacks early, but I do have 2 running backs, and now I've got the 4 wide receivers with the Quentin Johnson stacked with Justin Herbert, and then Travis Etienne stacked with Trevor Lawrence, which, Etienne, when Urban Meyer was the coach there for a hot minute, a cup of coffee, it seemed like he kept saying, or he was kind of, he's a joker. So the thought there was he was going to be like a weapon. ETN was going to be more of a receiver, a receiving back. But ETN's damn good at running the ball. And so I think he's going to be running the ball more. He might get a couple receptions here and there, but I'm not really counting on him for that. I think he's, he will correlate well with Trevor Lawrence and be a big part of why they win in games they win. And I think, independent of Trevor Lawrence or not independent, but they can both have good games at the same time in the same game. They can coexist, that it doesn't have to be all through the air and nothing on the ground. Doug Peterson has emphasized a balanced approach and a committee backfield type of thing. Not committee, but you need a bunch of guys. So I think that they're going to want to sort of work guys in. And I also think that defense is young and improving, but they're going to be in a lot of games where they're going to probably have to put up some points. They're not going to be able to shut teams down with their defense. So I know I said a couple of those things in a previous show, one of these best ball drafts, like a day or two ago. So sorry for repeating myself. I'm going to try to have new takes and new stuff to say, but holy shit, I'm doing it again. I matched the speed and I just go a billion miles an hour. So I'm going to take a drink of coffee from my guy, Yosemite Sam. You might recognize Yosemite Sam. If you don't, maybe look at my logo and see where I took the inspiration from. Oh, yeah. That's coffee. All right. Quarterbacks are drifting past ADP, which I should have expected here. But they are going to have to go eventually. And that's when I'll try to play a little bit of catch up and probably take some dusty boys, some old guys, because you know what? I'm older than a lot of you jokers out there. Why am I being like this? Sorry. Okay, so I'm up in 4 picks. And I should probably keep targeting wide receiver. I feel really good about having Ramondre Stevenson and Travis Etienne as my running backs. And right now at this part of the draft, when you're looking at this, once you get to about pick 100, 9, 10, this is when things start to really thin out. And you kind of have to take your stances because there's a lot of guys here that sort of fall and people don't necessarily want. Now, Treylon Burks I could take. I do kind of want him, but he's hurt. I am going to take a running back. I'm going to take Zach Charbonnet, because I think that's going to allow me to push for a while. And then, Nico Collins, Alan Lazard. I already have Garrett Wilson, so I don't necessarily want to do that. Where's Juju? Do I take the Juju? I'm not going to take the Juju. I think he'll come back. Just by doing a lot of these drafts. In best ball, I think Juju's the type of player that's going to be around. He's going to fall past ADP in pretty much every draft. That might not be the case in your upcoming home league, your redraft league, because he's a guy people know. And people might still think he's on the Chiefs if they haven't been paying attention. They might even think he's on the Steelers still. Who knows? They just know Juju Smith-Schuster because you know what? He's got a fun name. And he performed really well that one time with Ben Roethlisberger a couple years ago. And that's enough for a lot of people in fantasy to take a guy. I would think about taking him because I have Ramondre. I have Gabe Davis. Now I have Dalton Kincaid on my team as well. So I'm sort of building up that game, and I could maybe take Mac Jones late if I want to, but I probably won't because Mac Jones week 17 above against Buffalo. Yeah, we're going to be sacking the shit out of Mac Jones. No, I'm not counting on that. So just throw that out of the window, but I'm probably done stacking up that game unless I can get Juju. I just think Juju in this format is a PPR guy. He's a guy that they brought in. He's a red zone threat. He's going to be filling that sort of Jacoby Myers role that's been successful in New England for a long, long time. They've always been successful with the slot receivers going back to the Tom Brady days, of course. And, Bill O'Brien, actual offensive coordinator, calling the shots there. I do think Juju will get his opportunities. So if he is there when it comes back around and I am scrolling, did he go? He probably went. You know what? That was a lot of talking about Juju for no goddamn reason. Okay. That's kind of how things are going for me in these best ball live streams, streaming it for you all on the YouTubes and on the podcast feed. Another trend, though, here is that Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, Danwell Dimethan, the Dimesman, he's still on the board. Jordan Love just went above Daniel Jones, above Aaron Rodgers, above Jared Goff. So we're seeing some spicy moves here from this draft. It would be nice to be clicking around, but again, too glitchy. You just got to stay focused sometimes, or most of the time. It's good to be focused, I think. Just stay focused, stay in this, not worry about what everybody else is doing. Worry about what my goals are here for this league to advance, to build a team that could, get me to the finals and win the top prize, which is a bit lower. Again, this is only a 20 entry max, and this is the play action style tournament. So maybe this will be the last one they do. Maybe there will be a $200,000 play action. And I believe that's referencing the entire prize pool. So that's not the top prize, but the prize pool. So the top prize is probably like $30,000. But 20 entries, you can fill it up for $60. So that's a little bit more palatable to me because I know I can really put my effort and draft those 20 teams. And, the 150, it's too abstract for me. It's not fun. I can't do it. But I believe it started at about $600,000 play action, 500,000, it went down like that. Maybe there was a 700, I don't know. But basically the top prize, I would guess, is 1/10 of that, and then it sort of goes down. But so as we are here I'm recording this on August 22nd, maybe there's a $200,000 play action or a $100,000 play action, 20 entry max, that will come up again before the start of the NFL season. If not, possibly you could jump into this one, draft some teams, and it's $3 a pop. So really, again, what I really like about these is they give you a real mock draft sort of setting. You're paying money and it's a real draft and you can end up making real money. But with the ESPNs or the Yahoo sort of mock drafts or sleeper mock drafts, you're either doing it against the computer or you're doing a bunch of, there's no stakes. So people aren't really incentivized to make legit picks. Those are the type of drafts and mock drafts on ESPN where people take Justin Tucker in the first round, shit like that, or they auto draft. So you're not getting a lot of that when you're putting money on the line. So this helps for your upcoming redraft leagues if you want to do this. I am back on the clock. I am going to take Rashee Rice here because I have not taken him very much throughout the season. I typically have been going with Kelsey for the Chiefs or not. Maybe that's going to hurt, maybe not. But we saw last year that Patrick Mahomes, and, he's the best player in the world. He's going to spread it around. And Kelsey's going to get his, but the rest, who knows? I got to make another pick. I am going to take, oh boy, KJ Osborne. Have I taken KJ Osborne yet in these drafts? No, I have not. So the thesis of the play, as some people like to say, the thesis of the play here of KJ Osborne is that the Minnesota Vikings last year ran so many passing routes with their wide receivers. I believe Justin Jefferson ran the most in the NFL, and then right behind him, either number 2 or in the top 5 there, was Adam Thielen, who now plays for the Carolina Panthers. So Jordan Addison, highly drafted rookie, round 1 rookie, still a rookie, did get cited for going 140 miles an hour in a Lambo this summer, but it was a medical emergency for his dog. Shout out to Jordan Addison. A friend of animals is a friend of the Bandit, is a friend of you and me. But, KJ Osborne, he's been there. Kirk Cousins has talked him up in the past. The team seems to love him. I think that he could run a shit ton of routes this year. And he's kind of the sneaky guy. My buddy, Tacoma Cole, he posed a question to the group chat the other day about who's the most random weird guy who could be like a wide receiver 1 in fantasy this year. And I thought about it a bit, and my response was KJ Osborne, because that would be pretty random and weird, but you could see it. You can see the path, because basically Kevin O'Connell's Vikings, they're running sort of that, they have made Justin Jefferson the engine of the offense. They have made Kirk quarterback the maestro. Why can't I say that right now? He's at the controls. It's run through him. Dalvin Cook is gone. They're going to pass it. They're going to pass it a lot. Their defense is now coordinated by Brian Flores, who's the head coach down there in Miami. Spent a year with the Steelers. Now he's the D coordinator for the Vikings. But I still expect that that defense is going to be pretty bad. That NFC North division is kind of up for the taking. But in general, I would expect that the Vikings, who were very lucky last year, their point differential, the points they scored versus the points they gave up, I think they had a negative point differential, and they won 13 games somehow with all those comebacks. If you watch Netflix's Quarterback, or if you just remember, if you have a memory that extends beyond a day or two, maybe a year-long memory, that'd be good. That the Vikings were in a lot of games last year, and they came back and won them. Probably won't get as lucky this year. Probably won't have as strong injury luck. So even if, KJ Osborne starts as the wide receiver 2, and then he is supplanted by Jordan Addison as the wide receiver 2, and then they're kind of all working around the formation, I do think he'll get enough routes, even with, TJ Hawkins in there and that sort of thing. But wow, I mean, again, I'm just motor mouthing this. I don't know, these 30-second clocks being on the turn, it just brings it out of me, I guess. I love being on the turn, but when you're doing the live stream or you're talking like this, it's kind of like it's a lot. Maybe it'd be better to be in the middle for talking purposes. But I do love being the first or the 12th pick in a 12-team draft, because I'm an impatient man. And I love to make back-to-back picks, and I'm not afraid to reach or, let guys, I can scoop up guys who fall, that sort of thing. So not afraid to take stances on my guys. I'm a bandit. That's what I do. Whatever. I got to make a pick here real quick, and then I need to drink more coffee because I'm just parched from talking. All right, back on the clock. What am I looking at here? I'm not in the correlation mode because I was just talking forever. I'm going to take Greg Dulcich as another one of my tight ends, because he correlates with Justin Herbert in that Week 17 matchup, in Quentin Johnston. And then I am going to take Adam Thielen, the guy that I just talked about having all those routes that they brought over to Carolina, and I talked about in the other show, but he was brought there with the Panthers staff, the new staff there. They brought him, they signed him with the idea in mind they were going to draft Bryce Young. So he seems like sort of a safety blanket type of option who will get open for Bryce Young, make him feel comfortable. Him and Hayden Hurst seem like those type of guys. Miles Sanders is a little banged up. They all seem like guys who are, competent veterans who will help Bryce Young adapt to the game and sort of take off there. And, the ancillary pieces for the Carolina Panthers that were not drafted by this regime, your Terrace Marshalls, guys like that, they haven't really proven that they can be viable fantasy options. So, not as worried about that. I will take the KJ Osbornes and the Adam Thielens of the world here for PPR. They don't have that 100-yard ceiling. That's okay. You need some guys who are just going to get a couple of catches, hopefully have a couple weeks where they're 7 or 8, make your lineup, keep you going, keep you in those standings. Don't want to get too far behind, but you do want to launch ahead when you have those blow-up games. And I think I have a couple guys up top, Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams, who can provide those blow-up weeks. But let's look at the team now that I have drafted to this point. And in DraftKings, there are 20 rounds. So coming up on round 15 here. So in Underdog, 18 rounds, you get 2 extra picks in DraftKings. Right now, I have 2 quarterbacks, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, 3 running backs, Ramondre Stevenson, Travis Etienne, and Zach Charbonnet, 7 wide receivers in Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Gabe Davis, Quentin Johnston, Rashee Rice, KJ Osborne, and Greg Dulcich. Oh, not Greg Dulcich. Hopefully he'll be used as a receiver, but Adam Thielen. And then 2 tight ends in Dalton Kincaid and Greg Dulcich. So I talk a lot about the Bills and how they bring about rookies along slowly. So if you've listened to me talk or read my stuff in the past or anything like that, you know that I harp on this all the time about how the Bills bring their rookies along slowly. Dalton Kincaid will be no different. Yes, he was a first-round pick, and he figures to work into what they're calling 11 and a half personnel, bridging that 11 personnel with 12 personnel, 3 wide receivers with 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. So he's sort of the big slot, as they're calling it, where he can play tight end. They can line up in 12 personnel where it looks like they have 2 tight ends with Knox and Kincaid, or maybe Kincaid and Quinton Morris, something like that. And then they can, or, they can be in the huddle with the 2 tight ends. And then the defensive coordinator on the other team has to think, okay, they're in 12. We're going to run this. They can go line up in 12. And then, Josh Allen can maybe stomp his foot or something. And then Kincaid splits out wide. Suddenly they're in 11 personnel formation. And that could give them a nice mismatch. So Dalton Kincaid is a weapon, a weapon mismatch. That's what he sounds like, right? Whereas Dawson Knox is Josh Allen's best friend, and he will still be very good in fantasy. By very good, I mean he's a tight end. He will get points. He will crack your lineup. He'll get you some points. Tight end, you're not looking for a lot. Dalton Kincaid, though, he's the big upside sort of bet. I will be taking 4 tight ends, though, in this draft because Dulcich and Kincaid, to me, both profile as more of boom bust options. So I'm okay with that at the tight end position. But if I'm going to have those sort of boom bust options, I want like 4 of them. Maybe I'll take a safer option there too. But I don't know. Holy shit. I just saw the draft pool and I see Deuce Vaughn is now all the way up to 177. His ADP is 175, ahead of Bryce Young, ahead of Kendre Miller. This is ridiculous. What the fuck? A couple good runs. Oh, geez. A couple good runs in the preseason, and people are, DraftKings ADP, it really adjusts. So, man, if this is going to happen on Underdog too, that's wild. Wild, 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 wild. Oh, man. You know what? I'm not falling for that shit, though. I'm going to take Kendre Miller because right now, Kendre Miller's a little banged up. Alvin Kamara is going to start the year suspended. Jamal Williams got a lot of work last year, a lot of touchdowns, has a bit of an injury history. I don't know how that's going to shake out, but I do think Kendre Miller may emerge as the top back in that backfield by the end of the season. And then I'm going to take another upside tight end, Michael Mayer. So now I have 2 Las Vegas Raiders, which is probably not a good idea. They could be the worst team in the league, if not the Cardinals. I do think, though, that Josh McDaniels will get fired. So hopefully, if that happens, somebody can step up and be a better play caller. I don't know. The point is, I think Michael Mayer, who was projected to maybe be the number one tight end taken and then was the third after Kincaid went in the first, and then Sam Laporta, a bit of a surprise, went to Detroit, who was making surprises all day in the draft, all draft weekend, taking guys they wanted. Not really worried about where the DraftKings, the experts, projected guys to go, but they got their guys. Sam Laporta looks awesome. Looks like a good old dude. Looks like a Dan Campbell kind of guy. Sounds like a Dan Campbell kind of guy. Michael Mayer looks like a prototype. He's huge. He's good. This is sort of just a bet on the fact that Darren Waller is out of town. Foster Moreau is out of town. And Michael Mayer is going to have to be out there running routes, getting snaps. And he was very, very productive at Notre Dame, just like obscenely productive in a top tight end class. And I think he'll be good. I mean, if it is Josh McDaniels, we know that he has had very good success with tight ends in his career with Gronk and the like. I'm not saying Mayer's going to be like that, but with Kincaid on my team, with Dulcich on my team, with now Michael Mayer on my team, I am taking a bit of a risky approach by taking a bunch of tight ends, filling up my roster, my bench spot with a bunch of guys who could get zeros most weeks, which is not really what you want. So I might have to take a safer tight end here at the back end of the draft with my next pick. Somebody like a Tyler Conklin. Um, mm, ah, then I would, I got Garrett Wilson too. So I'd be double stack. I'd have the wide receiver and tight end for the Jets and the Raiders. This is kind of messing with my head. I'm usually all about the week 17. It just looks odd here on the web. I'm usually doing this on my phone and I'm talking through it, and I'm not seeing like the helmets or the logo designs. So usually I'm looking at those logos of the teams, and that can just, I'm a visual graphic design type of guy, illustrator type of guy, and whatever. That's how my brain clicks, processes faster. And with all this sort of boring Excel sort of layout, I'm having to strain a bit. So let's see. I'm just gonna look through my team. I'm okay with the Broncos right now. Okay. I do have, I could use a stacking option with Trevor Lawrence. That's what I could use. Oh, man. And there's not a ton of guys left. I kind of missed the boat on that. And I'm back on the clock. Yikes. Yikamundo. What am I going to do here? Oh, not feeling good. I'm going to take Josh Palmer because I do have Justin Herbert, and I like him as an option. I talked about it the other day. Joshy P. He's sort of a contingent option on, he's sort of the handcuff to Keenan Allen there if his hamstrings don't cooperate. And then, oh boy. Clock is ticking. It's the conch. It's the conch daddy, as the kids are calling him. Or I don't know. I forget who's calling him that. I know the Roto World Football Show, they call him that. Maybe the fantasy footballers have called him that. I've got 4 tight ends now. I got to be done with it. But Conklin, he is sort of that safer floor option. And he'll be okay. He'll be okay for my team. Conklin, week 7 bye. Michael Mayer, week 13 bye. Dalton Kincaid, week 13 bye. And Greg Dulcich, week 9 bye. All right. So that's okay. I got 2 more picks left. I will be the first pick of the 20th round. So what I need here is a Jag. I definitely need not just a guy. I need a Jacksonville Jaguar to stack with my guy Trevor Lawrence with Sunshine. Maybe even two guys since I'm so far down here. Um, Other than that, though, I'll be reviewing my team after that and talking through it and just kind of trying to figure out what the hell I did because I wouldn't say I blacked out, but it's just kind of like it's wild doing this. All right, it's wild. You should give it a try. Give it a try. Live a little. I switched to my other coffee, my Speedy Gonzalez coffee. Oh man! All right, I got to look ahead so I don't get on the clock here and just get panic mode. I gotta look a little bit to try to find a damn Jaguar because I might just have a, as they call it, a naked Trevor, naked in the best ball term or in fantasy terms. Who knows? I think it's more of a best ball term, but naked means you're not stacking that player, and that's not what you want to do when you have these tournament teams. So I could take a Dearness Johnson. Oof, jeez. Is there any way I can just can't search by team? Can I? That's not good. That's not good. So, and I don't want to be scrolling, because I can't see when I'm back on the clock as it is. So I'm going to just scroll a bit. And if I can't find anybody worth taking, that's worth, who could crack the lineup later on. I do have to take another running back, I think, just because I've only got 4. I should probably take one more running back. Ugh, what's it going to be here? I think I could take Malik Davis as my other running back. I like that. Oh, Parker Washington. Does that really seem like a good idea? Does it really? So Parker Washington recorded 1 reception on 2 targets for 15 yards and a touchdown in Saturday's preseason win. But what I am seeing here is he returned 2 kickoffs for 46 yards and ran back 3 punts for 21 yards. So that tells me he will be active on game day if he serves as their returner. So that is my target here. And I am on the clock. Look at that. Where is my cue? Malik Davis, bang. Parker Washington, sure. Oh, and that is the squad. Do I feel good about it? Well, it was $3, okay? $3, one of my teams. So this team for the Bandit, classic 2594 build, sure. Quarterbacks, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Sunshine himself, Justin Herbert, Jay Herbo. I like that a lot, but it may have cost me. It may have cost me by trying to go super, super big on the quarterback. So Herbert Lawrence at quarterback, running back, Ramondre Stevenson, Travis Etienne. God damn it. There's my Trevor Lawrence stack right there. See? Losing my mind here a little bit. Losing my mind. Can't keep it all in front of here. So I'm just going to talk through the lineup and then I'll get back to regular talking. Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, quarterbacks. Running backs, Ramondre Stevenson, Travis Etienne, Zach Charbonnet, Kendre Miller, Malik Davis. Okay, that's not so bad. Wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Gabe Davis, Quentin Johnston, Rashee Rice, KJ Osborne, Adam Thielen, Josh Palmer, and Parker Washington. Tight ends, I took 4. Dalton Kincaid, Greg Dulcich, Michael Mayer, and Tyler Conklin. This is, I think this is one and done for me as far as DraftKings doing the stream. I see why most of the streamers out there who did the best ball sort of streams, I'm not planning on being a best ball bro streamer all that much. I'm more focused on the redraft and the dynasty, especially now as we get into the season. Definitely redraft, but mixing in a little dynasty. But best ball again, if you don't do it, if you haven't been doing it, if you want to give it a try, it is a good way to sort of get an idea of ADPs and what your team might be. You don't get to pick your draft slot. Of course, that's the thing you can do in a mock draft. but you are probably going to get a more realistic approach. People are actually going to finish out the draft. They're going to actually make their picks versus a mock draft. People might only want to do the first or second round just to see what's coming to them. And then they kind of drop out, and then you're dealing with auto picks and blah, 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 blah. Not great. But the visual aspect of DraftKings here has not been ideal, I don't think. It's not been ideal. Doesn't look good to me. Does not look good. And I'm all about the visuals. So what are you going to do? You live and you learn. 50 minutes in. That went by super fast, probably because I was on the turn, or I don't know. But it felt like it was over in a blink. And I don't feel like I got enough takes off or had a lot of correlation. I don't know. You be the judge. This might be the Diary of a Madman, is what this kind of sounded like to me as I was going through it. So there's a couple players here, though. Zach Charbonnet, I don't have him correlated with Pittsburgh Week 17. That's okay. I like Zach Charbonnet in that Seattle offense. I basically want a piece of the Seahawks in every draft I'm in. I think that's maybe the most well-rounded offense in the NFL this year. And Ken Walker, a little banged up, I think. He could be a little banged up, etc. I think Zach Charbonnet has some PPR upside and just want a piece of that offense. It's okay if it's not stacked. It's just I feel like he could work in as my RB2 in a couple of weeks or even in a flex. So that'll be good, especially since right now where I drafted him, Quentin Johnston is projected to be my flex, and I don't think that's going to be the case. The Yodi boy, my cat Yo-Yo, has come up to say hello. Say hello to the stream, Yo-Yo. Want to say hello to the mic? Can you? No, you can bonk the mic, though. Are you going to? Oh, he has blocked the camera. His tail is directly in front of the camera. Good job, Yodi. Good job, Yo-Yo. The Yo-Yo man had to say hello. So I guess that's my cue to get the fuck out of here. Huh? Well, that was another draft. I will talk to you guys later. If I'm doing these drafts again, if I bring some people on, if I draft with some other guys or whatever, or bring some guests on, some folks, they'll be on Underdog. Sorry, DraftKings. I will stick to my phone. Yo-Yo is really putting his face up into the camera. Oh, he's sniffing it. You know what? Because this is a new thing to him. He's like, why did you put a camera up here on this stand? And whenever there is something new, he must sniff. He's Mr. Sniffs. All right. He's a curious guy. The curiosity killed the cat. Look at that. He just knocked the camera. So now you can see a big light here. And he's going to sniff that too. He's going to rub his face against it. I'm getting out of here. Goodbye.